Hey, welcome to this video. We are going to get my barrel fouled up after a pretty good cleaning. If you saw my last video, I did finally a thorough cleaning on my barrel, and all that I have left is a couple inches of that hard black carbon. Since I know I'm going to be fouling it and running a match here, I am going to just kind of run it for now. After this last match is over, I want to see what it looks like after that. So I figured I would go ahead and give you all the update on, actually went through my logbook where I jot down all the rounds from practice sessions and matches. And I finally went through and added them all up. So I'm at 768 rounds through my barrel before I actually did a cleaning on it. So, you know, maybe that couple hundred round mark would be a much better way to do that. You know, 2, 3, some guys do 400 to 600, but I think I pushed it just a little bit too far. It just made it a more difficult process. Overall, I was able to get it done. It just took more time and effort than I would like to spend on it in the future. So going forward, after maybe every 2 matches, I'm going to try and do a better cleaning on it at the time. Hopefully I can get to the point where it only takes a few minutes to get in there, clean it up, get it back to a good starting point, and then get ready for the next match. So one thing, it is about 103 today here in Oklahoma. So very hot. I'm trying to stay in the shade. I've already got one target set up downrange. And what I did, I had these couple of rounds left over after a match when I was still using factory Hornady match ammo. And I didn't make a good note of which lot number these had come out of. So they've just been sitting on my reloading bench for about 7, 8 months at this point. I think December, January is when I started using my own loads or working up my own loads. So I'm going to shoot out those. If that's not enough to get it good and fouled, I've also got a few more here that were just further out of spec that I didn't put into my match set when I was getting ready for matches running factory ammo. So I think the kind of general rule is 10 to 15 rounds should get it a good fouling in the barrel, and then things will start settling down at that point. What I need to find out right now is, after fouling and then using my own hand loads, are my speeds going to be back down to the point that I like them? So I found if I'm too fast or too slow, my groups are a little bit bigger, but right around a certain point, which seems to be about 2990, I seem to have my best tight groups at that speed. With the temperature increase that we've had since I worked up this load in the winter, January, February time, I need to see if, after cleaning the barrel and getting all the buildup out of there, so that was speeding up my rounds a little bit. But after cleaning and then shooting my own loads, am I still going to be in that 3020 range, which seems to have slightly larger groups? Plenty good for PRS. I don't think I'd have any problem with it, but if I need to drop my powder charge like 1/10 of a grain or something, I need to figure that out now so that I can start testing my matches in 3 weeks. So I've got 2 weekends after this one to get all my testing and prep done. So starting to run out of time. I need to get this figured out. So right now we're just going to load up, shoot, and I'll watch the chronograph and see when the speeds start stabilizing and staying, you know, within a decent SD. And then I'll switch over to my own ammo, change the target out, and then we'll shoot for a group, see what we're looking like at that point. So let's get into this. Okay, chronograph's on. I got those 8 kind of random factory rounds loaded up into a magazine. Let's just throw them down at the target and see what happens. I'm not going to try to go too awful slow. I'm just going to try to get centered on the big center dot on the target down there. I want to see how a fresh barrel cleaning like throws the hits around. See if it makes a group just in a different location, which would mean, you know, it's just a different loading than what I have my scope 0 to right now. Or does it start dispersing all over the place because it's, you know, speeding up as it's getting fouled? So I haven't ever tested that, so we'll see what it looks like. That was 29.23. 29.55. 9.42. 29.80. Okay, so there at the end we started settling around 29.80. So started, we had a 29.23, then up to 55, 42, 80, and then that's where we kind of started settling there. So once we hit 29.80 on the fourth shot, then we were 29.74, 82, 77, and 80. So looked like by the fourth shot, it started smoothing out pretty good. So that was only 8. I'll throw 4 more for an even dozen. Okay, so that one gave us a little bit different results, but it would be a different lot number. So I got to take that into consideration. Okay, so those 4 shots, I had a standard deviation of 15.1, but extreme spread of 38.9. So that jumped up to a 30.19, 30.27, had one odd 29.88 in there, and then a 30.22. So without that one odd one, we'd be all within 8 feet per second. So I tend to see that with the factory loaded stuff. There'll be, you know, 1 out of 5 or 10 that's just a little bit different than the others. So that will put us at a total of 12 through the barrel right now. Most people tell me 10 to 15 shots should get it fouled. So let's go look at that target, see if it's grouping at least decently, and then we'll swap out to a different target and test some of my hand loads and see if they're going to group well and what the speeds are. That's the most important to me right now, speeds and groups. Okay, so we are down here at the target, and man, there's much less dispersion than I was thinking. I went ahead and brought another paper to put up, but I think I can just use one of these other dots and be just as good. So these were the first 8 that I shot right there. I mean, that's nothing to really complain about. Left and right's really good. I just need to move up an inch, but I mean, that's decently small group. And then these were those last 4. So, you know, I may have been trying to go a little too quick. I wasn't too worried about aiming super tight and zooming in real close, but I'm not seeing them scattered all over the place like I figured I would. So, you know, maybe speeds don't really matter that, at least at 100 yards, it's not going to matter that much. So getting out to further distances could definitely be a concern. I've got 8 loaded up. That'll put me at a full 20 for today's testing. I've actually got to get home and mow my yards this evening. Had family in town over the weekend, and my usual after work Saturday, mow both my yards and then start my weekend Saturday evening. Got thrown out of whack, so went and had family dinner Saturday night. So now I'm moving my mowing to Sunday evening. So as soon as I get in here, run back to town and mow the yards in this very, very ridiculously hot weather we're having. But that's Oklahoma. We can't control the weather, especially in the summer. It's going to be hot and it's going to be windy. Just got to learn to deal with it. 958. Those last couple shots, I had drips of sweat just beating up on my eyelid, and that was quite unpleasant. So had extreme spread of 36, standard deviation 11.9. So I had a few odd shots in there, but I mean, overall, is pretty good. I can see that the group at least looks good from back here. It is lower than where I've got my 0 at. I did double check my turrets. I am back at 0. So, you know, something has shifted slightly there. Could be the temperature. Could just be clean barrel hitting a little bit different. But I am, average was 2984, which is much closer to what it was when I was getting this load worked up. My last 2 matches, I was around 3005 to 10, and then 3020 to 3030. So this has slowed me down to 40 to 50 feet per second by cleaning. So my lowest was 2958.9, so say 2959, and my highest was 2995. So much tighter spread there. So started out at 2958, which was kind of slow, and then to 2982, 2992, and that's kind of the range I want to be at. 2987, 95, down to 72, another kind of odd one, and then 88 and 95. So majority of these are right there where I want them to be, but let's see what the target looks like, because that's all that really matters. Numbers are nice to get a good idea, but to me, I could have a large standard deviation and extreme spread as long as my group on target is holding tight. Whether that's where I'm aiming or not, I can always adjust that by re-zeroing my scope. But as long as it's holding a tight group, then I can predict where it needs to be and get good data into my Kestrel. So let's go see what the target looks like. Okay, so I came down here with the tape measure. I figured we'd see what this first one was. You know, that's vertical, oh, maybe 6/10. That guy is almost an inch overall from widest point there. And then get up here. So this was the group that I just shot. I don't know if those were the 2 unruly shots or what, but you know, we're ½ inch or so wide. I'm going to say 6/10 or so at the longest. So obviously I'm an inch low on where my 0 is set. So I'm going to say that is one of the biggest effects from the cleaning, is my 0 has shifted on me. The speeds are about what I want. The group size, I'd like to do this without as much sweat in my face, so I'm going to come back out tomorrow when I've got a few more minutes, see if I can try again, tighten that up a little bit, see if more shots. As of doing all this right here, I've got 20 shots on the barrel. We'll see if it evens out a little bit more, and I'll make a decision on what I'm going to do with my ammo loading from there. Okay, so we're at the point of the video where it's time to ask you guys what you think. So is this kind of normal results? Foul your barrel a little bit more, and then try to shoot a semi-decent group. Like I said, I did have some sweat in my eyes. I don't know how much that really affected stuff, but it was there. So, you know, whenever there's something that affects me that I can feel and I'm thinking about besides trying to take a good shot, I always worry myself, did that cause any of the, you know, less than ideal shots? I'll take some measurements of this when I get home, but I'm going to say that's about a 6/10 group. You know, that one, first one's probably about an inch. To be expected with the speed changes and fresh, clean barrel. So I am, you know, obviously noticing that I'm averaging right at an inch lower than I typically had been, but I want to say I was probably around 400 or so rounds, 400, 500. You know, I could be even more than that. It probably closer to 450 to 500 rounds when I got my own load worked up and started using that during matches. So, you know, it was already somewhat fouled, but not as bad as it has been currently. So maybe I need to get a few more shots down it. I will come out tomorrow. We may add a little bit more in if I can get a few things done during the day tomorrow. But with my schedule, that's very difficult to do. Filmed the majority of this on Sunday evening, and then went home, mowed my yards, thought about it, and decided to come back out here on Monday. A little closer to dark right now. It is considerably cooler than it was yesterday, not fighting the sweat in my eye. A couple things I wanted to mention. So I don't think I had my cheek rest reset to the same position that it was after I took it off to do my barrel cleaning. So I adjusted it a little bit and then took a couple more shots, and it actually moved kind of my center point up just a little bit here, but it's still lower than what it had been. But those were the last 5, I believe, of my kind of better match ammo from my hand loads. I was pretty pleased with the results I got from the chrono on that one. 5 shots, I had an extreme spread of 6.3 and a standard deviation of 2.4. So I know it's not a big enough sample, but they went from 2980 to 2986. So pretty happy with that one. Then I went ahead and shot out the last 7 of just the kind of my rejects from my hand loads, the ones that were bullet seated a little bit lower or not quite low enough. So I just get the most consistent ones and put them in my match selection and keep the other ones for stuff like this, fouling a barrel or just taking some random shots. That was going to be these couple shots here, so they were a little more scattered out. Some of that was me kind of wiggling around and trying to change glasses. I did realize that when I wear my glasses down in prone position, I think the angle of the lens kind of tweaks with the sight picture a little bit. So when I don't have my glasses on, looking straight through the scope, everything's clear, perfect. When I put my glasses on, I get a little shadow and things are a little harder to see. So I need to figure out what is causing that and what I can do to fix it. I'm going to play around with my cheek rest a little more and see if I can get into a better position. When I'm like up on a barricade, not a problem. When I'm like down on a knee or squatted down behind it on a tripod, something like that, not an issue. So I don't know, do some more testing on that later. But anyways, those last 7 shots were not as consistent. They had like a 29.6 extreme spread and 11.5 standard deviation. So that's why I reject those. I kind of had a feeling they would be less than stellar. But I mean, overall, they still grouped plenty decent enough for PRS. So, you know, if I needed to use them in a match, I know they'll be close enough to hit steel targets. It's just not something that I want to depend on for the majority of the match if I can help it. So if I can have just a few throwaways out of each of my loadings, that's what I prefer. So overall, my impressions after cleaning the barrel is it's definitely starting to tighten things back up a little bit. I think I'm going to load up another 10 or 20 with the same powder charge that I have now. I might do a few, just like 2/10 of a grain more and 2/10 of a grain less, just to see how that groups next weekend. And I want to make sure with the cleaner barrel, it definitely dropped my speeds average about 35 feet per second from what they were shooting before cleaning to after cleaning. So I need to take that into consideration now and make sure that my load is optimized for running through a clean barrel instead of a several hundred round fouled barrel. Hey, I really do appreciate you hanging out with me for a few minutes as we test the results of my barrel cleaning. If you could do me a favor, look right down below here. Make sure you're subscribed. I really do appreciate everybody that follows along, offers tips. If you see anything that you think that I need to take a look at or change in my process, please let me know in the comments down below. I really do appreciate all the tips and suggestions that everybody has given me over the last several videos, and I just can't thank you guys enough. Well, it's time for me to get home and try to mow 2 yards before the sun goes down too far, and then I got to do my laundry because I'm a sweaty hot mess right now, and it's my laundry day. So lots more still to do in the day, so I'm going to get running out from here. I really do appreciate you hanging out with me for a few minutes. On your way out from the video, please make sure and you leave a thumbs up on it. Drop any comments down below. Like I said, I really appreciate everything that I learned from you guys. It really helps me speed up this process, trying to do it all by myself. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for a few minutes. I really do hope you have a great rest of your day and an awesome weekend. And we'll see you on the next one. Bye.